Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. And it's indeed a pleasure to be here at Chennai at Empower 2022. I wasn't sure I was going to be here except a few days ago. And I'm really pleased that as soon as I got this opportunity, some space was provided for me to share a few experiences from Kenya and from Africa. I believe I'm the only one who's coming from that continent at this event that took place here. So it is indeed an honor for us to be here and to share the exciting work, or to be part of the exciting work that is being done by all the stakeholders in this subcontinent, and to see how we can improve services for people with disabilities in the continent of Africa. I believe you know already that the population of India, standing at 1.4 billion, is just about the same as the population of the whole of the African continent. Only a few thousand separate the two populations. And with your, yes, please. All right, sorry. Aha. Thank you. I was trying to avoid that light. So, so with those kind of populations, then it means that the work that happens here in India almost represents the work that would happen in the whole continent of Africa. What happens in India would represent the whole work that would be happening in the continent of Africa. And that's a big statistical impact, that what you are doing in this continent, in this country, can actually represent what needs to be done and to serve a whole population of 1.4 million people in the continent of Africa. Our circumstances are not very different. Most of our countries in Africa are developing countries facing most of the challenges you are facing here, access to services, inclusion, and the cost of products, and quality services. We are dealing with the same issues as a continent. We are diverse as much as you are, possibly more diverse because we have more boundaries, more geopolitical and economic divisions than you have here, different currencies, linguistic boundaries to deal with, and of course, cultural differences. And so we face more challenges. However, as a continent, especially within the eastern side of the Indian Ocean, we are tied to the hip with India. The history between the eastern coast of Africa and India has been for many years tied through trade in the earlier years, early development, railways in the early 1900s, and today there's a lot of intercultural and economic activities between the countries, among the countries of Eastern Africa and India. So it becomes then very important, especially in our small sector around inclusion, to figure out how do we then cooperate to make sure that the experiences that are coming out of India, which has now been recognized as one of the emerging economies in the continent, in the world, benefit our people in nearby Africa. India has been known to be one of the greatest suppliers of products, knowledge, and technology to Africa because of the proximity, and of course because India is a couple of steps ahead. And we do have a lot of people from the continent who come to India for medical services. We have not yet, unfortunately, as a continent, and especially speaking from the perspective of my work in most of the African countries, we have not as yet harnessed the potential that India has in improving technology for inclusion, as we have in terms of food, in terms of engineering and other exchanges that are going on between Africa and India. And even as we sit here, as I sat here to watch and to listen to the drive towards sustainable and affordable technology for inclusion, I was asking myself, how do we expand that collaboration? I am going into countries around Africa and seeing devices that have been imported from China, and I've been asking myself, well, India is so near, why should we have to go around, halfway around the continent to look for technologies? How do we expand our, collaboration and get devices coming out of India in an easier way and in a more affordable way than from other far distant continents? So in a small way, we take our roles and our learning and transfer those into our work. And already a lot of work has been going on, especially around the areas I'm involved in, the provision of devices, digital content, and the training or the creation of accessible content or on its use, what we call Kieti content and confidence. We are doing a lot of that in collaboration with people from India. Already in terms of content, Bookshare has done a lot of work in bringing books into African hands, and I'm proud to be involved in that work. We are also working with the DAISY Consortium to create accessible content, especially tools that allow for languages from Africa to be integrated into content creation packages. In the last 2-3 days, we just finished creating Braille for Swahili, a language in East Africa, Chichewa, a language in Western Africa, and Amharic, a language in Ethiopia. And we've also done, in the last 2 days, created content creators engines for creation of audiobooks in those 3 languages. It's part of the things we are doing, and we have a lot of collaboration with the teams from right here in India to do that. We have conducted trainings using personnel from this country on the creation of accessible digital content, and I was very excited to meet organizations, companies that are creating accessible content and are willing to work with us to expand the creation of especially STEM content, and also training on creation of the same content. However, we still have a long way to go in increasing the uptake and utilization of the devices, devices for reading, devices for writing, that are coming out of India. We all know that in Europe and in the Americas, they have their devices which cost more than your Toyota car. For one learner to have a device that can serve them, the family has to forego a family car. And that is not affordable to our economies. However, when we are seeing devices costing a few $100s that can make a difference in the life of a child, we really feel excited, and this is why we are happy to have been here and to be able to deliver this learning and the partnerships that we have created with the many companies that I've had a chance to meet, so that we can create those linkages not only in the eastern part of Africa, but all the way up to the west coast, where we have people and linkages. I was actually happy to meet a number of people that I've worked with for more than 10 years, and 15 years ago, some of whom are also involved in the planning of this conference. And so that was also a good thing to see that we're getting connected again on the same business. And I think one other thing that I would want to say is that, thank you. So one other thing that I would like to mention is that, as was mentioned by the introductions, I coordinate or convene the Africa Forum, which is the largest conference on blindness services in the continent of Africa. It takes place every 4 years, with the next one coming up sometime, possibly towards the end of 2023. And through that, we have an exhibition package or an exhibition part component of the conference that we call Tech Share Africa. And it's not as big. We usually have about 25, 30 exhibitors. It's not as big as what I saw here today. But the happy thing is that there are companies from right here who are here that attend and come and exhibit at the Africa Forum, Basic Consortium, Benetech, Saksham, World Trust, Touchit, and a couple of others I've seen here that we cooperate in. So we would like to encourage you to stay tuned, and as soon as we announce, you can just type Africa Forum Conference or African Blended Summit, and once it's up, if you can make it, you're welcome to come and exhibit so that we can all share and exchange and transfer technology among ourselves. I think going to the future, the South-to-South cooperation in technology, I think is going to be the main thing, because it's extremely difficult to get the high cost or the high-end devices or technology solutions that are being promoted by the West. So it was a great pleasure to be here and to meet people and to learn. And I believe this contributes a lot to the work that we are doing in Africa to make sure that people can access technologies to enable them exercise and enjoy their rights to education and to social inclusion. Once again, it was a great pleasure. Thank you very much. Namaste.